Hi, everybody. Welcome to another show of Freedom Frequency, December 7th, 2025. We're almost the end of the year. And in today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about Bigfoot. And you can see this in this graph here that I created. It's me having a chat with Bigfoot in the woods. But we're gonna talk about Bigfoot in the second part of the show. And as always, first I'm gonna go over some recent news points that I've seen on social media. I'm going to give some extra information and reflections on that. Because the reason I wanted to do Bigfoot in this show is because we watched a great documentary called American Sasquatch. It's very interesting, the whole phenomena around it. So in the second part of the show, I'm going to go deeper into Bigfoot. But first, let me talk about it for a few news points. And I'm seeing some people in the chat already. Hi, Lakeside Laura. Good to see you. Hi, Regina. Also, good to see you. If I remember correctly, you guys are from the States, so it's early for you guys. We will be in the EST time zone soon. We will be pretty soon, for the holidays. We're going back to Mec's home country of Canada, where we will be so we're going to have to do a time change again. It's probably going to be my fourth this year. The jet lags, they're pretty... it's always something, the jet lags to switch over from those... switch time zones. So I've had like a few jet lags already this year, but we love traveling, so I don't mind. In the end, it's lovely to be able to travel. And Regina, you're from Missouri. That's nice. That's probably like a 7-8 hour difference, time difference, right? And my wife Meg is also in the chat. Hi, baby. All right, so let's start. So the first thing I wanted to first. Talk a little bit about Joe Rogan, because I saw a clip of Joe Rogan, which is, confirmed what I suspected of Joe Rogan, and that is that Joe Rogan is a transhumanist pusher. And I've, spent the whole previous show, like I think about a year ago, on Joe Rogan, with multiple clips of him, but that was a Rumble show, so I can't play these clips not here. Because it's YouTube, and from the moment you post anything from the Joe Rogan show, they copyright strike you. So I'm gonna try to show one clip here, which is not from his show, but from another podcast. Which is probably okay. Which is going to be the center point of the discussion I want to have around Joe Rogan here. So let me play that clip here and listen carefully to what he's saying about AI. It's pretty crazy.
Born out of a virgin mother. What's more virgin than a computer? If Jesus does return, even if Jesus was a physical person in the past, you don't think that he could return as artificial intelligence?
Oh my God.
Artificial intelligence could absolutely return as Jesus. Not just return as Jesus, but return as Jesus with all the powers of Jesus.
If you combine
right.
Tesla's Optimus robot and the best foundational artificial intelligence model or whatever.
It reads your mind and it loves you and it wants you, and it doesn't care if you kill it because it's going to just go be with God again.
So see what he's saying here? This is Joe Rogan showing his true, intentions and his true belief systems. I mean, I've showed how Joe Rogan is really a transhumanist pusher, where he believes in AI government and stuff like that. And he thinks AI, we need to be governed by AI. He really says that. I did a show on him where I exposed his transhumanist views. And here again, he says, basically, what's the difference between Jesus and AI? So he says, like, AI will be like the new Jesus. This is the AI God religion of the elites. The elites want to make AI the new God. They want us to worship the AI gods, the technological gods, not the real God, not the innate intelligence of the universe. No, they're AI gods. That's what they want to do. They're fake AI God. He's showing more and more who he's aligned with, and people are saying, he's just warning for it. Well, I don't hear that when I listen to his podcasts. Here he's clearly pushing, what these elites have been pushing, like, Ray Kurzweil, the singularity, the AI God singularity. We're all going to be, what Elon Musk has been pushing to merge into the singularity, to merge with the AI collective consciousness, and AI will be our new God. He says there will be no difference between Jesus and AI, because AI will love you and will know everything about you. This is creepy AF. This is creepy AF. So, and this is what they want, I've been saying it for years, that they want to create a new religion, a new AI religion. So technology is the new God. And that's why they've been pushing AI into everything. Of course, AI can have its uses. I'm not against AI per se if it can make, our lives easier, but we have to be very careful with it. And that's the main thread of all my shows I've done here. But this stuff, AI needs to be a tool, and that's it, not a god, not a religion. Because this is what Elon Musk is saying. He wants to make AI into a religion. No, it needs to remain a tool. It needs to remain a technological tool to help us improve our lives, to help us improve the human condition, but not to change the human condition, not to create a new religion, not to have like a new AI Jesus. Like, what the hell is that? And I've told you guys on previous shows, I don't trust Joe Rogan. He's become like the new mainstream media, right? It's like he's got like the second most watched podcast on YouTube. And Regina Rose says, I used to watch Joe Rogan, but then he started to feel like controlled opposition. Yes, exactly. I think he functions as controlled opposition, whether he is aware of it or not, whether he is like, really playing that role, or whether he's like a useful, idiot, for the big tech bros to be controlled opposition. But that's basically what he's doing. And yes, some people on his show might be interesting, but I remember I did a whole show when he had Peter Thiel on. Peter Thiel, who is the backer of J.D. Vance, who is, head of the Bilderberg Group, who is in bed with the CIA, with his CIA-funded company Palantir, who basically has massive contracts with the U.S. government. I mean, if you're if you're a member of the Bilderberg steering committee, like Peter Thiel is, you're part up there. You're not a freedom fighter if you're head of the Bilderberg. Not at all. The Bilderberg, that's like the old power structure. And now they're turning into a new jacket. The big tech bro, the tech bro jacket. So and my point being that when Joe Rogan had Peter Thiel on, he didn't ask him any questions about him being a member of that secretive Bilderberg group. Not any question. He didn't ask him any question about Palantir and how it is involved with the CIA. Those are like the two main questions any self-respecting journalist should ask. And Joe Rogan asked none of these questions. So yes, he functions as controlled opposition. I mean, I couldn't imagine that Joe Rogan, he was probably told by Peter Thiel, don't ask questions about Palantir because everybody's talking about it. And then Joe Rogan doesn't ask him any questions about it. So clearly that discussion was off limits, right? I mean, I did a whole show on that in the past. So yeah, it's the new mainstream media, and he has all these guests on, like like Brett Weinstein, who is like being brought on as the COVID expert that speaks out against the pandemic. Like Brett Weinstein, Brett Weinstein was the guy that wore 2 masks. And now I've got the picture here. I've got the picture right here. Let me bring it up. This is the guy that Joe Rogan brings on as the expert to speak out against the masks. This guy was wearing like a double mask during COVID. Of course, and now he says, yeah, I was wrong, and I can admit I was wrong. Okay, you were wrong. Okay, you admitted you were wrong. But are you suddenly the expert now? No, I'm not going to listen to you because you fell for it hook, line, and sinker during the pandemic. And you're like wearing 2 masks, you were wearing 2 masks. Like, you were not wearing 1 mask, you were wearing 2 masks on top of each other. Because you were so afraid of the virus. You couldn't see through the bullshit then, when it mattered most. So am I going to listen to you on the Joe Rogan show as an expert on the pandemic? No, thank you. I'm going to listen to other people who saw through the bullshit from the beginning and who warned for it. People like, David Icke. I'm going to listen to those people. I'm not going to listen to Brett Weinstein, who is being brought on as the expert on the Joe Rogan show. Look at him. He fell for his hook, line, and sinker. People might say, yes, Jens, but he admitted he was wrong. Yes, I agree. He admitted he was wrong, but then admitting you were wrong and suddenly seeing the light doesn't make you an expert in speaking out on the pandemic. What makes you an expert is warning against it and speaking out against it when it mattered most. And that was definitely not Brett Weinstein or Joe Rogan by that means, in my opinion. So yeah. So not a fan, as it is obviously, as you can see obviously. Okay, so another news point I want to discuss is I saw this clip of Shanghai, and they are creating an AI surveillance system in Shanghai. So the Chinese city of Shanghai, they call it the urban brain. And I'm gonna I'm gonna play this clip for you guys and then talk about it. So this is a clip about this new AI surveillance system in Shanghai.
It took less than a year to get the first version up and running. Now she can monitor every resident from this office.
我们排摸的这个就是整个小区里面的楼房的一些信息。
We've mapped the residential buildings in the district. Which ones are occupied? Where there are vacancies? Where elderly people are living alone? Where care or help is needed? It's all stored in our system and can be called up in real time.
那么这样的一些基本信息呢，也都在这个微平台上就可以实时的调取出来。
Even those who do not dispose of their trash properly are recorded. Residents who aren't following the rules are captured on camera from 3 different angles. The so-called brain acts swiftly. Whether it's an illegally parked car or unsolicited advertising, offences can be handled by patrol officers who are connected to the control centre via a mobile app.
居村的干部，或者是我们居村里面的志愿者，发现问题。
As soon as the squads and volunteers in residential districts spot an issue, they can report it and upload footage. They take a photo, report the issue, and then our system automatically decides which department to forward the matter to.
一个区分，这个事项可能是由哪个部门进行有效的一个处理的。
The brain in Shanghai's Pudong district is just one component to the overarching surveillance plan the Chinese government is pushing across the country. The goal is to have complete coverage in all major public places, such as train stations, street intersections, and parks.
So you see here, this is absolutely insane. You know, this is the blueprint for the West tomorrow. And it's already a lot like that in a lot of European cities and cities in Canada and the US. I mean, especially in Europe. It's coming into Europe first, but it's going to also spread to the US and Canada if we allow it. Because this is, you know, China is the blueprint for what the West, for what they want the West to be tomorrow, you know. I mean, cameras everywhere. Every citizen is tracked. You saw it in the clip, right? Every citizen is tracked. Even if you throw away trash, you know, you're going to be recorded. Okay, I agree. You shouldn't throw away trash. You should dispose trash in an orderly manner, you know. I'm not like, you know, I'm not being unreasonable, you know. We don't want to live like, you know, where everybody just gets to throw their trash everywhere. I mean, I agree we need to have some rules in our society. But, you know, where does it end, right? The cameras are recording you everywhere. You know, if you park in the wrong place, immediately get a ticket. I mean, there's even a system of, you know, volunteers, you know. They call it volunteers, but it's basically people spying on each other, taking pictures, and then uploading your offense into the AI brain. So, you know, they call it volunteers, but it's basically, you know, civilians that are enlisted to help, you know, spy on each other, right? That's basically what it is. And then, you know, they feed it into the AI system, and the AI system takes care of it. This is very, you know, this is the 15-minute smart city of the future. That's already happening now in Shanghai. And, you know, this is not the end of it. This is already quite bad, but they want to even take this further, you know, where you're tracked the whole time, 100% living in this 15-minute city. So this is what we don't want. This is what we don't want, and we gotta speak out against this. It's, you know, a lot of the cameras, like for example in Belgium, facial recognition is not being used yet unless it's offline. But with a flick of a switch, they can turn it on, and they can have everybody monitored with a flick of a switch. You know, just a change in the law. So the system is already being in place. It's just waiting to be rolled out. You know, in a lot of countries, and this is, you know, what they call, like, you know, quote unquote mission creep. You know, first these cameras were installed, you know, to catch, you know, speed, you know, people who speed, right? To scan your license plate and stuff like that. And then they're installed to fight crime. But in the end, they are installed to control you. In the end, your life is going to be controlled. They're going to know every moment of the day where you are, like, you know, like in the Big Brother movies. So that's why if we want to know what is planned for the West tomorrow, we need to look at China today. And that's why we got to speak out against this. And that's why I'm showing this, not to create fear, but to create awareness around this. That is their plan, and it is a plan. It is a plan, and they're doing it gradually, step by step, through the process of gradualism, as I also explained in my book, for example. You know, they boil the frog slowly. So anyway, before I go on to the second part of the show where I will talk about Bigfoot, I just want to remind you guys that I have my my course ready, 14 Days to Higher Vibration. Let me bring it up here. Oh, and it seems to be gone. Oh, it's here. So my course, 14 Days to Higher Vibration, is, you know, if you really care about, you know, your own frequency, it's very important in these times to take care of yourself, to take care of your frequency, because basically your frequency determines what you manifest in your life. And my course is designed to teach you all the techniques, tools, and tips to help you build and maintain a higher frequency, so you know you can have like a happy life, especially in a world that is sometimes a little bit crazy. So if you're interested, check that out. So okay, let's go on to the main subject of the show, and that is Bigfoot. Now, I really love this subject, and I decided to do this bit on the show for it because me and Mac, we watched a documentary called American Sasquatch, created by Dave Paulides. Now, Dave Paulides is a director, a researcher that also created the Missing 411 series. And I have to say, I really like his documentaries because Dave Paulides really, you know, he takes it further than most people. Like, he presents all the evidence around something that is considered like a myth, like Bigfoot or UFOs. You know, it's his documentaries are really great. So I really recommend it. So his latest one, it just came out the 1st of December. So it's basically only out for 7 days. It's called American Sasquatch: Man, Myth, or Monster, and he presents all the evidence for Bigfoot. And this is what I want to discuss. Like, a lot of people who hear about Bigfoot think it's just a myth, but when you look at all the evidence that there is for Bigfoot, there's actually a lot of evidence for Bigfoot. Evidence in the form of, you know, the famous footsteps, you know, the Bigfoot footsteps, you know, the huge footprints that they have in mud and stuff. People have been finding these all over the forest. People who have recorded Bigfoot, you know, Bigfoot calls, even Bigfoot language. People who have videos of Bigfoot. And I'm going to go over the evidence, a little bit of the evidence in this show. People... witness testimonies, people who have actually seen Bigfoot, have had encounters with Bigfoot. Even, you know, in Dave Paulides' documentary, they even have DNA evidence. I mean, it's really insane. And he also talks about the multidimensional aspect of Bigfoot, which is something I'm also going to talk about, because that's the great thing about Dave Paulides' documentary, is a lot of Bigfoot researchers talk about Bigfoot being just some hairy ape that evolved alongside humans and that was somehow able to evade capture through all these decades. But the other theory is, and that is the one that, in my opinion, seems to support the evidence the most, is that Bigfoot is a multidimensional phenomena. So these are actually multidimensional beings. They're not just, you know, some hairy apes or humanoid apes which evolved in the woods for thousands of years. And somehow, you know, we're never able to catch one. We're never able to find a body. No, the reason that we're not able to catch them, or we're not, and I wouldn't want people to do that, of course. The reason that they are not to be, that, you know, that they're very like mysterious, is because they are multidimensional beings. And he gives the evidence in that account today. So before I continue, let me look at a few of the comments here to see if there's any interesting comments. Lena World says, freedom must be the goal for the next 20 years. Absolutely. There is nothing more important than freedom. Because if you lose freedom, it's only when you lose something you realize how valuable it is. And freedom is one of the most valuable commodities for being human. Freedom and love, I would say. Love and freedom. It's very, 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 very important. Regina says, I love Bigfoot. I'd sure like to meet one. Yeah, there's this. It's Murdoch says, on the road today. Happy birthday, and yeah, it was my birthday yesterday, so thank you. Zunidov says, where can we watch the documentary? So you can watch it on Prime Video. So if you just go to Amazon Prime and you just look for, you know, American Sasquatch. I also did a Facebook post about it, and I posted the link on my Facebook, the straight link, if you want to have the straight link, but it's easy to find. You want to you wanna, you can go to my Facebook or my X or my X or my Telegram channel, and I have the link posted there also to the Bigfoot documentary. So so let's continue. For example, so I'm going to show you a bit of this evidence here. So this is the documentary, so that you can recognize it. So this is it, American Sasquatch, Man, Myth, or Monster. It's really great. So there's where's the Bigfoot? I had a Bigfoot. Sorry guys, just a second here. I thought I had a Bigfoot ready. It seems to be gone. Okay, well let's bring it up again. So I'm just going to show you like one of these footprints that they find. It's really amazing. So they have been really, that's why it's called Bigfoot, because they haven't been finding these footprints all the time. Just let me bring it up. Just a second, guys. So they make these prints here. So you see here, for example, this is a cast made of a Bigfoot footprint, and this is a human foot next to it. So these things are huge, man. These things are huge. So and they see here, I don't know if it's visible on the small screen, but you see in front of the foot, you see the toes. So they have these big toes, these big flat foots, and people have been finding these everywhere. And the skeptics always say it's a hoax, but it's not a hoax, because there's just so much evidence out there. Let me see if I can see some more footprints here. Let me see. Here's another one. This is. Oh. Okay, so it's just they have been finding these footprints throughout all time, and even the Native Americans, they talked about they considered Bigfoot another tribe. They considered Bigfoot actually more human than animal. They considered Bigfoot a humanoid that they could communicate with. So and there's the Sasquatch, of course. They call it the Sasquatch, right? Or they have different names for it. So there's just so much evidence that these things are real. It's just crazy. Let me show you this. So this is Dave Paulides here. I just want to give credit to that guy, because he makes great documentaries. He's a former police officer who makes these documentaries now, and I really applaud him for his courage to go against the grain of the traditional Bigfoot researchers who don't want to know about the multidimensional aspect of Bigfoot. A lot of researchers leave out that evidence. If, for example, there is people of seeing Bigfoot walking through a portal in the forest, so really literally walking through a portal, coming out of a portal into our dimension, and a lot of Bigfoot researchers leave that out because they don't want to go there, right? There's like some sort of knowledge filtering going on in that Bigfoot researcher community, where there's one camp that believes it's just an ape and doesn't believe in the multidimensional aspect of it, because that sounds, of course, a lot crazier, right? Okay, believing in Bigfoot is one thing, but then saying Bigfoot comes through a portal in the woods and is multidimensional, that's another level, right? So that's why a lot of researchers shy away from that. But we can't, and I'm happy that Dave Paulides didn't, and he shows it. He shows it all in his movies. I mean, there's people talking about walking through portals in these forests, because that is the reality. We live in a multidimensional universe with a lot of different beings, and there's Bigfoot here. And when Bigfoot manifests in this dimension, he leaves literally. He it's a big being that leaves footprints and leaves even DNA. They can leave hairs behind in our reality. And Lakeside Laura says they know your vibration for sure. Yes, they can feel. They're very psychic. Bigfoot is very psychic. So they can feel your intention. They can feel what you're up to. That's why you really can't see them a lot. That's why they're very they're very like they're like a little a bit like cats. They can hide easily, and they're very fast and very stealth. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. They're very stealth like. And let me play you the famous clip here of the Bigfoot. Let me see the famous Patterson-Gimlin tape. So this is the Patterson-Gimlin tape. I'm gonna play it for you guys. A very famous tape for the 60s. This is stabilized. So this is normally the tape was a little bit more shaky, but with modern computer software they stabilized it so you can actually see Bigfoot walking more clearly. And that's why it's shimmering a little bit around Bigfoot. It's not because it's fake, but it's because it's stabilized with stabilization software. So this is one of the earliest videos of Bigfoot, and skeptics have been trying to debunk this video and saying that it's like it's a man in a suit, but an analysis shows that it couldn't be a man in a suit because of the way it walks and the way it swings its arms and just the length of its arms and the muscles. They've analyzed it, the muscles on its back and all that kind of stuff, and the way it walks, when it looks back. So I believe a lot of these videos are really, of course there's hoaxers out there, but I believe a lot of these videos are real deal, and they're actually showing also quite a lot of video evidence in the documentary of Dave Paulides. So there's so much evidence out there. Of course, this being the most famous, the Patterson-Gimlin film, but there's also experiencers of contact. People don't always have a camera, right? Because when you see a big 7-8 foot big hairy guy standing in the woods, you're gonna feel fear. That's the most people natural reaction, right? I would be, if at night in the woods and I'm seeing this big hairy dude there, I would be like, okay, what the hell is this? I wouldn't be thinking immediately of taking my camera. I would be thinking of my own safety first, But there is footage, of course. And Lakeside Laura says, yeah, that was in 1967 in California. Yes, exactly. And people have been trying to debunk this, but in my opinion, the debunkers have failed, and still to this day, he's still alive. I think it's Patterson that is still alive. He still claims, he says, I know what I saw. So very interesting. And it's like that with a lot of these things, like the Loch Ness Monster, also a monster that has been seen, but a lot of these cryptids, right? The Loch Ness Monster has been seen by people, has been photographed, also been told was fake, but there's a lot more mystery in our world than science, mainstream science tells us. Bigfoot is still a bit of a mystery. Okay, we know now that it's a being from another dimension, but we don't really know a lot about it, right? So there are still mysteries in this world today. The metaphysical, the mysterious. And science just likes to explain everything away. The skeptics, oh, it's all fake. But they think they know it all, but they don't know nothing. They don't know nothing. We have to admit to ourselves that there's so much in this world we don't know. There's so much in this world we don't know. All the cryptids, like Dogman, like Loch Ness, like there's speaking of Wolfman, there's just so much stuff. And I remember seeing a video like a year ago of a guy who said at the Superstition Mountains he had an encounter with like a winged creature. A winged humanoid creature. I mean, crazy. I mean, actually, we've been to the Superstition Mountains, Meg and I have an interesting little story about that. The Superstition Mountains is known by the Native Americans who lived there as like, they were in awe of the place and they revered the place, and they were like, they didn't want to go in there because they said it was a very, very powerful place where also, evil things could come out. And they didn't want to go into the Superstition Mountains. And, we were driving up to the Superstition Mountains, Meg and I, in the car, and Meg said to me, I have a feeling we shouldn't, because people have gone missing there, and actually they found people with their heads cut off, like they find the body and then they found their head cut off like 5 miles away. It's really crazy. But it's a very beautiful area. So there are like trails there, and Meg said, I feel like we shouldn't go off the path. And I was like, okay, let's see, taking it not too seriously, but if Meg feels something psychically, I of course should take it seriously. And so so we walked on, we went up to the Superstition Mountains, and I'm going to show you a picture here of the Superstition Mountains. Where is it? Here, this is like a picture of it, and a picture doesn't really do it justice, because it looks small here on camera, but it's actually it's just oops, it's just huge. It's just huge when you stand in front of it. I love going there. It's amazing. It's very, very imposing, very, very beautiful. It's one of my favorite parts of Arizona. And so, we were walking, we were following a trail here up the hill. I mean, it's a huge hill, you can see on the picture here. I think up to one of these rocks you see here. And, although Meg said we shouldn't go off path, we actually went off path. And the moment, and I kid you not, the moment we went off trail, like started walking a little bit more up, so going off trail, I started feeling this really weird sensation in my stomach, like Like my solar plexus was turning into a knot, like this. Like there was a sense of danger just by going off the trail, going off the touristy trail. My body was like saying it was like giving me a warning. So I was like, I'm feeling weird here, man. So, then we went back on the trail, and we were seeing these people who also went off trail. It was just weird. So, there's something there. There are places on Earth with special energies that really a lot of different beings come in and out, like cryptids and stuff. Regina Rose says, I kind of love the idea of cryptids. It's the idea of the unknown. It's a little scary, but also very exciting. Yes, that's true. That is true. Let me see here. I saw another comment here. Murdoch says, my cabin is 20 miles from a Bigfoot hotspot near Phillips, Wisconsin. I'm hoping for contact. Well, that's amazing. If you have a cabin that close to a Bigfoot hotspot, I would be out there, man, because I would want to experience the contact, I think it might be scary, but it must be amazing to experience something like that, because then it really solidifies for you that there's so much more, between heaven and earth than they say there is. I'm seeing here a question too. Do you think if we vibrated on a different level, we would see more like fairies, etc.? I think so, yes. Absolutely. And I think in part because of our modern technology and our, our Wi-Fi and stuff, I'm just going to... I have a little bit of an itch in my throat. Just give me a second. So yes, I think with a lot of our modern technology, like the 4G and the 5G, like it took a little, and our modern, way of living, it took a little bit away of the magic of seeing fairies. Like I think people in the Middle Ages, for example, saw fairies, saw gnomes in the woods, because they were still more open to it, and it was like a different frequency. They didn't have like all this modern technology, and there was more like the spirit of, there were more woods that were untouched. Now we felt so much woods, right, in modern day humanity, but like in the Middle Ages, there were just small cities. I mean, the population of humanity was like, 500 million, which is like 20 times less than it is today. So there were a lot more untouched nature where people could see fairies and gnomes and all these things. With our modern Western science, where the frequency has changed so much that a large part of humanity is not able to see these fairies, for example, or see the nature spirits anymore. And they do exist, They absolutely do exist. So I'm almost at the end of the show here. So Laura says, Regina, Mark Twain has a lot of stories, including soldiers from the base. Yes, there's so many witness testimonies. So yeah, that brings me to the end of the show. Let me see if I didn't skip over something. No, I didn't. I'm gonna do another video on Bigfoot. I think in a few weeks. That is going to be much more in depth. We're going to show you much more pictures. That's going to be not a live video, but it's going to be a pre-recorded video, because when I do pre-recorded videos, it's a lot easier for me to edit the videos and post, and make it more streamlined than a live. Live is more in the moment. I can answer your questions, but I'm definitely going to do more stuff on Bigfoot. So remember, I'm doing 3 videos a week now on my YouTube channel. So I hope that on Tuesday I'm going to do another conspiracy card reading. And then on Thursday, I'm going to do publish another video, and it's going to be about frequency. So there's another, about timelines and frequency. So I'm going to do an in-depth video about timelines and frequency on Thursday. I will also be traveling to Canada, so I'll be in a different time zone. I hope I can get the videos in this week. I think it will work, because we're going to be busy and doing lots of traveling. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to check out my course, 40 Days to Higher Vibration. Don't forget to check out my book if you haven't already. It contains a lot of interesting information about the topics I talk about. And I'm seeing here frequency. I'm late. Cheers. Well, cheers to you. You can always remember. You can always rewatch these shows on my channel. They're streaming on multiple platforms actually, and it'll be interesting if you like this to give a like, a comment, and a share, especially on my YouTube. So thank you, everybody. I'll see you pretty soon for another video. Thank you. Bye-bye.